Good morning. It is Nicolette here from Cape Town, and today's talk is about crystals and crystal resonance. And for those who don't know what resonance really means, it's a frequency. So crystals' frequency, and particularly in the relationship to their environment, including us. So crystals, with their crystalline structure, are natural amplifiers. So whatever energy that they hold, they naturally ripple it out. And this can be used to adjust environments, even Gaia. It can be used on earth healing. It can be used for people, for animals, for community or collective intention. So it's quite a lovely subject. And I love coffee and crystals. So mind you, I know it's inverted, but this is a mug saying I am charged by coffee and crystals, and I find it so funny. Anyway, but I'm drinking coffee and talking about crystals. Okay, so I'm sure everyone in this group has had some interaction with crystals. And you basically, everybody knows when you get a crystal, you cleanse it and program it, and it's great to go. Now, I have a slightly different viewpoint. For me, there is a relationship with crystals, and they are sentient, meaning they have a beingness. And on an energetic way, we can communicate with crystals if we want to, much like we would communicate with plants or other beings. So first off, choosing the right crystal for you must be done from the heart space, almost like choosing a new friend. And friends can be challenging but good, or very harmonic, depending on what we need and when we need it. So, I know some people will look up, oh, I've got this ailment, this crystal is good for it, let me go and buy it. I don't really work that way, and I don't teach that way when it comes to crystal healing. I like to rather say any crystal can be the correct crystal for the resonance needed for your healing. Because although you may have an ailment that is directly related to a chakra, which is directly related to a color, which is directly related to a supposed crystal, and I'm sure it would hold a resonance to work with it. But perhaps the deeper laying issue is something even beyond that point, which that particular crystal may work with, and that relationship with that particular crystal may bring you something very special. So, for instance, one crystal could do the job of 30 in your own healing, because that crystal may have such a good resonance with you. It need not necessarily be for instance, let me pick up one, a clear quartz. Clear quartz is a all-rounder, it's an amplifier. Ideally, this could be all you ever need. But when you love crystals, it never stops at one. But, you could work with rose quartz or anything like that, and that could be all you need within your healing, because rose quartz can be nurturing. That's the pink one. It can be holding, it can be protective, it can do a lot. Each chakra can work with rose quartz. So if you give yourself a rose quartz to work with for a whole year, it'll be more than enough in terms of crystal healing. And the relationship that you start to build with it will be powerful and helpful in that regard. And I'm just going to fetch a rose quartz. Okay, because I'm unable to do live Facebook videos for the next 2 weeks or so, I have the ability to pause. Isn't that fabulous? But I will be doing lives from November, so you'll be able to interact and ask me questions, which I'm really looking forward to. Okay, so this is my favorite rose quartz, and I have had it for maybe 20 years. And the fascinating thing about this little one is if I look at its aura, it's actually purple, which was very unexpected for me. I expected that rose quartz would be pink and nurturing, but this has a sort of higher energy than some of the rose quartz that I've worked with. So this one can work in a different resonance than other rose quartz. And there's a strong relationship with me and this rose quartz. And so I use it a lot in my healing sessions, although sometimes other rose quartz is called for, because it's just not, I intuitively know this is not the one for that particular healing resonance that's required in that moment with that healing. And, you know, with the crystals, one need not physically have the crystal. Okay, so although we love to own and to be custodians of crystals for so many reasons, there's the tactile, there's the beauty. It's almost, for me, sometimes feels like going into a rescue, an animal rescue. When I see crystals, I just want to take them home and connect and show them love, which can get out of hand when you've got thousands. It's terrible. But, you know, when you feel like you're going to really acknowledge them and work with them in the right way, you tend to want to bring them home. But we must remember that we don't need to have each crystal. By working with the signature of the crystal as a collective crystal, so that's not working with sentient beings as such, like as in singular, but working as the collective of rose quartz or the collective of chrysocolla, then we're tuning into the collective vibration that is a frequency that those particular ones generally hold. And we can pull that in by using intention, but also by knowing the energy. So if you've watched my previous videos, I talk about energy signatures. So when you work with ascended masters or beings that you know, you get to know their energy signature, which to me is almost like their fingerprint. So you don't get confused, you know, that particular being is that being, and you've got validation, you can trust it, it's a relationship, you're aware of their business card, you know what they feel like, what the sense of them is. There's no confusion. So when you're working with a crystal and you don't have it on you, but you want to call that energy in, you will know that energy. You will know it through your whole being because you've had that connection with the crystal. So you're able to call that resonance in. So you're able to work with it as a color frequency ray. Okay. And I suppose if you're not doing this regularly, that may even feel a little bit far away, a bit difficult. So let me go back to the basics. So you've walked into a place where there are crystals, or someone's gifted you one, perhaps, that is meant to unfold, to be in your possession. Or you've walked in somewhere and you've seen something which is just, you can't leave behind. It's magnetic, you know. I would at first, you know, some people don't feel the tactileness of heat or tingles, and even then I'd be wary in a shop because there's so much intense crystal energy in crystal shops and so many people, and I don't always want to dial into the energy in a place which feels chaotic. There's also the fact that crystals have often been taken out of the earth in an unpleasant manner and hold a little bit of trauma around that. So I usually trust my intuition, and I actually connect into, if I get a strong pull and a magnetic urge to take one home, I just trust it within myself. Other people will just hold one and just know that's it. You know, you just got to, you get that feeling of, yes, this is it. And you must make sure you're not choosing for collecting purposes unless you are, and not for looking up the meaning purposes. I think those are important aspects when it comes to really working with crystal resonance and not just collecting crystals. So I usually go home and, or actually not necessarily, sometimes I will, as soon as I'm out the place, I will just start clearing energetically by swiping the old energy off. And sometimes I use violet flame. Sometimes I just, if the crystal feels really good and maybe the shop's kept it quite clear, I will just use a bit of Reiki energy and I will just boost it up and have a connection for a moment, just giving my life force and experiencing the crystal until I get home and I'm able to really sit with it. And even then, I will often put it on a cluster or druzy, so it's got various points that can charge it up and help it to clear in a gentle way. Certain crystals you can put under running water, but some of them, they're not great for running water. They can dissolve, or some of them are even poisonous. You do need to do a bit of homework with certain crystals. The general popular ones are safe for touching, but there are ones that are not. But I'm sure you would generally go for more common ones. So some people also cleanse with Palo Santo, sage, incense. I sometimes use singing bowls or tuning forks or my voice. You can hum or sing, but essentially it's intention. And once you feel that the crystal is cleared of anything that is no longer needed, then you can sit with it. And what you want to do is you want to be breathing, connecting in through your crown, bringing in that higher energy, connecting in through the feet chakras and the earth star, connecting to the earth, opening the heart chakra and aligning the energy up and down the spine. So I often keep the spine straight, uncross the feet, and use breath in order to align myself into a deeper state, like a theta type of state. And you could do equal in and out breaths or sighing it out and just visualizing white light coming in, pausing in the heart, and maybe breathing out through the heart, breathing in through the heart, pausing, and breathing out through the feet. Maybe breathing in through the feet, breathing out through the heart. You can sort of floss it around, and you can even work with breathing in through the third eye chakra, whatever intuitively feels good. And at that point, you can start tuning in as you hold whatever crystal you're holding, and start feeling how it feels in your body. Do you feel perhaps heavier, more grounded? Do you feel open-hearted? Do you feel very open? Are you experiencing any colors, any emotions coming through? And you can allow yourself to see how it is affecting, the resonance is affecting your energy body. That particular exercise is so fun if you work with a friend and they pass you a crystal while your eyes are closed and you don't know it. And maybe you'll pick up if it's a grounding crystal, or you'll get flashes of color or something like that. And that's a beautiful thing to feel in your energy body where the crystal is resonating. So now what we've done is we've brought home a crystal, we've cleansed it, and now we're feeling it in our energy body, seeing where it wants to work. And now we're going to create a relationship. And having a relationship with a sentient being is about talking and communicating. So what we do in this state where we've already found the connection in our body and how it's resonating is we would start to have a conversation with it, trusting the inner voice that's coming through, almost like telepathy from the heart space. So you could start saying something like, it's so wonderful to meet you. Where are you from? Or how can we work together? What can we do? What messages do you have? Where in my energy body do you want to work? So you see, it's very free-flowing, and each time you connect, it might have different energies. And you can just allow, if you get that sense the crystal wants to work in the heart, you could place it on the heart. You could breathe in the light of the crystal through the heart chakra and see how the energy in your mind's eye moves through your body or somebody else's body, perhaps. And perhaps there's more than one crystal that needs to be added to the recipe. And perhaps the rose quartz is telling you it needs a high energy friend to keep it really, really moving through the body. And perhaps if you have something like a moldavite, it's a little bit like a battery, and it really charges everything to the nth degree, bringing in such intense high energies. And working with other crystals with it together is usually quite exciting. Although it's not for everyone, it might make some people feel headachy if they're not used to those higher energies and using their intuition, and especially the galactic energies. But if you are comfortable with those energies, that would be a very good crystal to work together with. You could have one in each hand. Otherwise, perhaps more simple to work with a clear quartz to amplify. Otherwise, one of my favorites is a kunzite. It's a pink one, and it has like a watery, compassionate, higher heart feeling. So this would work more on for me, the physical heart, and this is the higher heart. So those are beautiful together, and they hold such a gentle space. They really work with things like trauma or self-love, self-acceptance, all that kind of energy. And one could place them not only on the heart, but also on, for instance, the solar plexus. because then we'd be really holding that sense of self-worth and feeling our self-love so we can work with boundaries. And if we moved it perhaps onto the sacral chakra, we could be working with maybe some birth issues that have happened or relationship issues that have come up, anything around sexual abuse, that kind of energy. If you're feeling trauma stuck around in relationships, you could work on the hips. In the root, you might work on phobias or fears. You know where I'm going with this. So as you move up, kunzite on the throat could be calming for a lot of maybe fights or aggression. It could calm someone down. I mean, it's endless. I mean, I can't even limit it. There's so many things one could use and do. So it would be silly for me to even give all the options because it's not possible. Okay. So I've covered the relationship. Then, when you've worked with your crystal and you have a relationship, you might hear from the crystal, I'd like to be buried in the garden for full moon, or just some of the time, or I want to be wrapped up in a pink cloth. Go with all those things. Obviously, don't bury it in wet soil if it's not water comfortable. Just be aware. But if it's quartz, you're probably fine with that. And just trust yourself. Like, start building that. Like, I used to take my crystals for a walk into the mountains and let them sit in the rivers flowing, So just create that energy and be comfortable if they go missing because they're meant to. If they happen to break or crack or drop, many people wonder, what should I do? Can I still work with them? Well, you have a relationship with it. Ask it. Sometimes they do. I've placed a crystal in someone's hand and it's exploded more than once. And the energy is just so intense and they've taken on so much so quickly and they've sacrificed. There's a beautiful service there, and that's okay because energy is never destroyed. So, all these things happen with good reason and intention, and it's all set out. So then you can bury that or keep the pieces or not keep the pieces. Again, ask inside yourself intuitively and ask the crystal what's best for it. Yeah. See. Okay. Just at this moment, where am I going to go to next with the talk? Because I have so many directions I want to go, but I also know that I talk every 2 weeks. So I think I'm going to go in the direction of light codes now. So I channel light language, which is basically a frequency of the heart of the universe, and it holds a signature frequency much like crystals or like we do, or like color does. And although it can be various languages from ancient times or galactic, it also is frequency and almost like building blocks for me. So often with my crystals, I'm drawn to write light language on them, and then they hold very specific healing qualities. So I'll show you what I mean. Let me see if you can see. So I use a gold paint pen, and when it rubs off, it's time. And I often do that with my crystals, especially when I work with grids. Or actually, I use them for distant healings or in person, I suppose. So yeah, I do receive information on what the crystals want to specifically amplify, and I use that. And light language is a whole nother topic, I suppose, but basically, essentially, it's very similar, and it's sitting into the heart and being fully connected and allowing that almost automatic writing to come through. Sometimes one will see light language in a visual inside space, and then you can recreate it. Or other times, like for myself, I just pick up a pen and it comes through. Or sometimes it's signing. A lot of people will actually sign it with their hands as well, or vocalize it. I do a bit of signing and vocalizing, but I'm really drawn to working with crystals and codes specifically for what I do. So I do work with crystal grids, and I have various grids that I've made, from healing grids of human outlines to animal outlines. And then I also use sacred geometry, and I paint them with light codes as well. And that is a very nice energy, for instance, for me to do a crystal transmission. And what a crystal transmission is for me is to bring in a particular crystal energy. So I would choose, for instance, say I'm choosing kunzat that we saw earlier today. I would possibly place that in the middle of the grid. And this is obviously after cleansing and setting intention and talking to which crystals want to be used. And then I would use various crystals. For me, I'd use the light code crystals, bringing the energy in and out of the grid space. And while I'm creating this grid, what I would be doing is also creating it on a energetic level or a dimension level, like almost an astral plane. And I work with my galactic guides in order to create a space like that. And I will work with small groups of people remotely. And I do it either remote or live. And I bring that energy into a crystal temple with each person's higher self energy body. And I work with attuning everybody to the crystal energy that's coming through in that moment. And I use the grid to inspire the resonance that I need to work with. And then my galactic team usually comes to play, and we work with the energy that needs that particular attunement in that time. And it's often around the energy of the crystal I choose that comes through and communicates with me in a sentient way with the energy of the group I'm working with. So depending on the group that comes together on the day when I do the transmission and working with the crystals that I've intuitively chosen, I then resonate and raise the frequency or adjust things according to how I communicate with the crystal and for the best, highest possible thing for the energy of the group. And that's how the crystal resonance is so important within what I offer as a practitioner, because I'm communicating not only with my intuition and other people's higher selves, other people's guides, but also crystals in particular, and not just the collective resonance, which I do work with, but also with specific crystals and the sentience they bring into the mix. And listening to their story, what they have to offer. And, yeah, I hope that kind of gives you an idea of how I understand crystal resonance and what it can do. And this subject is so big. I mean, we can go into clearing, protection. All these crystals have such a story. And it can also go into working with the tektites, which are glass but have ideally some meteorite in it as well. I also work with meteorite fragments too, because I love everything galactic. So for instance, the Libyan tektite that is found in the Sahara Desert, and I think it was Tutankhamun actually put it as scarabs in the breastplate. He understood the power of working with tektite, and it really is humongous energy, and quite overwhelming to begin with. The most famous is obviously Moldavite from Czechoslovakia. But I love these two together. In fact, I have a necklace that I often wear with them together. Over here, I've got Cielo de Campo meteorite fragment. And this is from South America. It's very iron-based. And I absolutely love iron for various reasons, including grounding and protection. And this one has a very heart space for me. It's very homecoming. So yeah, I find moving in with tektites and crystals very, very powerful in my work. There's also, because I love the iron, I work a lot with magnetite, which is also, it's like a magnetic iron. It always comes in this cute little form, little diamond, and it's also like a lodestone. Lodestone is can be magnetic, and sometimes it comes with little iron filings on top of it, which is really fun. They always fall off. So I work a lot with that magnetizing energy because I love it for grounding. It feels good to me for the ley lines and connecting into Gaia, and it seems to work well with tektites and crystals. So yeah, that's how I do a lot of my work. I apologize for any banging in the background. Oh, another tektite, which is pretty famous, is the Indonesian one. They often come in teardrop shapes, but this is just a little round one, and it's quite porous. So these are more affordable than moldavite and also come with quite a punch. And that you do so much transformation with tektites. It really isn't. It isn't slow. It's a bit almost shamanic. It kind of shakes you a bit, and I quite like that. But I always have to remember to ease it out for others, and not everyone wants healing crisis all the time. So when I do work with these energies, I speak to them and I make them more gentle when I work in these transmissions. And if I do use them, I also use a lot of gentle energies around it that will harmonize, like smoky quartz or rose quartz. And I check how the group holds the energy to how far I can go with the intensity of the resonance. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening to me today. I did do a little bit of rambling, but I do love crystals, and I'm sure it's not the last time I'm going to talk about them. And if you have any questions about what I've spoken about, or perhaps any stories about how you've connected with crystals or unusual occurrences that have happened with crystals, please let me know. I absolutely love answering questions and very open to communication. I wish it was alive so I could, but it is coming. And I hope you all have an absolutely lovely day. And thank you.